you feeling today, Sangha? Welcome to our Dharma study. It's great to be here with you. And so, if you are endeavoring down this path of mindfulness, trying to live this mindful way of life, you may be asking yourself, well, what do I do? One, you need to meditate daily. Two, you need to recognize the change that's going over and within yourself and find a sense of community. But also, we need to stay with the teaching. And so, this teaching is the Dharma. And the Dhammapada outlines how we can live in an ethical way. And whether you are an executive or if you're in a relationship or if you're a member of your community, you're sometimes confronted with difficult choices. And the question becomes, how do you navigate through those difficult choices? Well, we have a story to share with you, and that comes from verse 82 today. And it will help us to have some clarity on how we should navigate through life. And so before we go any further, I just want to take a moment to check in, see how you're doing, see how it's going, and to let you know that if you visit amri.com, AUMRIE.com, that I just dropped a new meditation, right? An all new meditation on my debut meditation CD called King of Calm, right? King of Calm. And there are 4 tracks on there, 2 meditations and 2 affirmations, and they cover the gamut from how do you deal with difficult emotions to affirming your dreams and your purpose, and so everything in between. And so it's rich, fertile ground for you to begin to explore. So I invite you to go to omri.com and to check out the brand new meditations that just dropped today, and my debut meditation CD, King of Calm. And with that, we're going to prepare to shift into our Dharma for verse number 82. But before we do that, let you know how we start. Let's begin. Double heart taps if you got joy. Double heart taps if you got peace. Double heart taps if you meditate. Double heart taps for you. Double heart taps for me. All right, let's get into it. And so we're all confronted with making difficult choices. And the question is, how do we make those choices? And the reality is, sometimes when we make difficult choices, we have trauma, right? We have some blockers up in our minds. We have what psychologists term a schema, right? This is our lens that we use to filter our world. And if our lens is all filled with muck and filled with grease and filled with grime, then we are not going to be able to see clearly. And we won't be able to make wise or skillful decisions. And so part of being an engaged leader and a mindful leader is recognizing what you are bringing to the room, what you are bringing to the table. And one of those things that oftentimes we bring to the table are the past that we're carrying with us, right? And judgments that we're carrying with us, and perceptions and wrong understandings that we just bring with us, all these assumptions, all these things that go unchecked. You know what you're carrying with you. And so mindfulness is reminding us, acknowledge what you're bringing into the room, because that's helping you to frame how you're going to make the choices. And so verse 82, it starts like this. It says, on the hearing the teaching, right? On hearing the teaching, the wise become perfectly purified, like a deep lake, clear and still. And so you may be sitting out there, right? You may be in a farmhouse in Wisconsin. You may be at a beach house in Miami. You may be on a ranch in Austin or some Victorian house in San Francisco. And you may be saying to yourself, well, how does this apply to me? That sounds okay, right? Okay, makes sense, right? When hearing the teaching, the wise, perfectly purified, like a deep lake, clear and still. You hear that, you go, okay, right? How does that apply to me? How can I make that applicable to my life? I'm an executive, I'm a firefighter, I'm a teacher, I'm a nurse. I have day-to-day concerns and day-to-day problems. Well, here we're going to get into it. And so this verse is accompanied by a story, right? And it's the story of Kanamata, right? And Kanamata, I won't read the entire thing, but I'll share with you the background of it. And so Kanamata, she was a mother and she was living in a monastery. And she was very devoted and she was going through her life, right, of being a monk and caring for and tending to her interior spiritual life. And one day her daughter came to visit her, right? And she saw her daughter and she really didn't want her daughter to leave, right? She was like, oh, I miss her, right? So, on one hand, she's doing this deep spiritual work within her life. But on the other hand, her family comes to visit her and she misses her daughter deeply, right? And she loves her daughter very much and she wants to see her and spend more time with her. And so the daughter is saying, okay, mom, my visit is going to be cut short, right? My visit, I have to leave now. I have to go back home. And she was going to go back to her husband, and back to her life, right? Back to her careers and back to her garden and back to what she was doing. But her mother said, hey, you know what? Listen, go tomorrow and I'll make some sweet treats for you. I'll make some things and you can take them home. You can bring them to your kids and you can bring them to your husband and it'll be great. So just one more day. And so the next day arrives and the uh, the daughter prepares to leave. And as the daughter prepared to leave, all of these other monks who lived at the monastery smelled all the treats that the mother made, right? They smelled so good. They smelled so wonderful. And they all wanted to taste, right? They all wanted a little bite of those treats. And so one by one, they began to get a little treat. They said, can I have a treat? Right? They smell so good. And the mother gave one monk a treat, and then all the other monks she gave a treat, and they all asked, and they all left with great joy. And so by the end of all the monks getting their treat, there were none left for the daughter to take home. And so the mother said, right, really, really slick, she said, hey, I have a good idea. Listen, I'll make some more treats today, and tomorrow when you go home, you can take the treats with you. And so the daughter, I'm pretty sure, was looking at her mother a little side eye, like, are you serious? Wait a minute. What's going on here? I need to go home. I got to get back to my Twitter. I got to get back to my social media. I got to get back to my Zooms. I got so much to do. What are you doing? I can't be staying here at the monastery, right? This is good for you. You like this, cool. But for me, I got to get back to my life. And so, but she agreed and she said, you know what? I'm going to stay one more day. Okay, I'll wait for the treats. And so on the second day, the mother makes the treats for the daughter. And once again, all the other monks come smelling all the good savory smells of the sweet treats. And they say, may I have one of the sweet treats, right? And the mother goes, here's a sweet treat for you. And then another monk comes and she gives them a sweet treat. And another monk comes and she gives them a sweet treat. And by the end of it all the treats were gone, right? All the deliciousness were gone. And I don't know what your favorite dessert is, but just imagine it's that is it. If it's peach cobbler, imagine all the peach cobbler was gone. If it's a pineapple upside down cake, imagine all that is gone. If it's chocolate covered strawberries, imagine all of the chocolate covered strawberries were gone, right? The mother made them, spent all day making them, and she gave them away to all these other people. And so you know the daughter was feeling some sort of way. The daughter's name is Kana, right? The mother's name is Kana Mata, the daughter's name is Kana. And so you know Kana is just like furious, right? She is seething right now. She feels betrayed now. She's so angry right now. And she's not just angry at the mother, right? Right? Because the mother promised her the treats, right? There's some sense of betrayal there. But she's also mad at the other monks. And it says that in the text about it, she said, I failed to go home. And then she got word that her husband back home, Kana's husband back home, the daughter's husband, He said, listen, if you don't come home right now, right, if you don't bring yourself home right now, I'm going to take on another wife. Right. Now that is cold blooded, right? That is just harsh. And sometimes we look at this text and we're like, that doesn't even make sense. But we know that people, when they're alone, or people when they're feeling neglected, they sometimes make unwise and unskilled decisions. You ever seen that? Right? Have you ever made an unwise decision when you are feeling neglected or alone? Right? And you just start saying all sorts of things. I'm going to take on a second wife. I'm going to take this job. You take this job and shove it. I'm going to just get up and pack up and leave. Right? We say all these sorts of things. Right? And that's how we live when we're under this sort of pressure. And so the husband is back home. He's just like, listen, you need to bring yourself home or else I'm taking on a wife. And she didn't go immediately back home, right? She's like, you know what? I'm with my mother. I'll be back in a little bit. And anyway, he goes on and takes another wife. Can you believe that? That's what it says in the story. That's what it says in the teaching. The husband takes on another wife. And Tana was devastated, right? She was so hurt. Can you imagine that? You're with your mother, right? You're tending to her, you're seeing her after not seeing her for a while. You find out your husband wants something back home. He goes out, finds somebody else. Probably was doing that all along, right? Probably was just looking for some justification. That may have been his modus operandi all along, right? Just finessing the whole situation. You ever know somebody that just finesses a situation like that? Well, that's what this is like. That's what this teaching reminds us of. This is what happens sometimes in life. And so um, Kanamata and Kana then go on to have this exchange one more time where the mother says, okay. I know you got to go home to your husband now. So here, I'm going to give you these sweet treats, right? And you take them to with them tomorrow. And on the next day, the mother does it again, gives all the treats away to the monks. The daughter just kind of loses it, right? Understandably so. She feels like, or if you look at it from her perspective, she's absolutely devastated. Her marriage is in shambles. She's been taken away abruptly from her life. She feels like she's trapped. She's also trying to be a caregiver. Anybody know what that's like, right? To carry a job, but also to be a caregiver and have some troubles in your relationship and not really knowing where you're trying to go. You're trying to leave where you are, but something within you is making you stay, right? Because if you wanted to leave, you would have left. If it was imperative for you to leave and you felt a great deal of urgency, you would have left. But something kept you there, right? And so we have to acknowledge that something on Kana's part, deep within her, was having her to stay. So maybe there was trouble within the relationship before, right, with her husband. Maybe she was also trying to escape. Maybe she was thinking about taking refuge in the monastery. We don't know. We don't know what her inner motivations were, but we also know the complexity of human life, right? That within you, when you have to make a difficult choice, right, and you're supposed to be somewhere and you really have to do it, and you have to deliver how you deliver, right? But when it comes time to, you have some flexibility, you're doing some procrastination, you have some other competing interests, some other priorities. That's when it can, be a little flexible, right? That's when we start being a little careless, a little reckless, and just watching how things settle. Well, it says here that when Kana was unable to go home, well, because the mother had offered all the sweets, all the delicious peach cobbler to all the other monks. It says that Kana's husband took another wife, and Kana became very bitter towards the bhikkhus, right? So isn't that interesting, right? So the husband takes on a second wife. Let me grab a sip of water. Okay. The husband takes on a second wife, and Kana blames the monks. Right? Isn't that what we do? Isn't that what we do when it comes to assigning blame, right? When it comes to directing blame, when it comes to who made the choice in the situation, when it came to who participated in the decision making, right? The husband and Kana both made the decision. She made the decision to stay. The husband made the decision to take on the second wife. But Kana became bitter and blamed the other monks for the treats, right? Isn't that what we do as humans, right? Isn't that just how we live? Isn't that just how we operate? We see something easy to blame, right? Instead of blaming the primary characters, instead of assigning, responsibility to the people who are involved, we choose to find some scapegoat, somebody else. It was these dang desserts. My marriage, right? I can just imagine kind of talking to friends. My marriage broke up because of these desserts. This peach cobbler ruined my marriage, and these monks who were so greedy, they were supposed to be holy, and here they are eating my peach cobbler, and I was not able to go home, and that's the reason my marriage failed, right? Marriage failed because of peach cobbler. What's that about? Well, that's what we do in life. I'm sure you've probably done it as well at some point. I know I've done it. Instead of really looking deeply within and seeing that it was a flawed situation all from the start, I started going, oh, it was the computer, right? I blaming the computer, blaming the fax machine, blaming the email, blaming anything that I could besides the primary actor of saying the choices that I made, the carelessness that I made, the mental space that I was in, all resulted in the effect, all resulted in what took place. And sometimes in life, you too must begin to acknowledge what's taking place within your life, right? If you have bitterness that is arising towards somebody else, right? Some secondary actor, right? Some tertiary actor in the whole affair, in a whole situation, begin to look at who was responsible in the chains of decisions, who were the primary roles, right? Because at any moment, Kana could have said, you know what, thanks for the treats, but you know what, I don't really need them. It was great seeing you. I got to go back and tend to my marriage. But she didn't want to go, right? Something made her stay. If the reason you are going to stay is because of some treats, right? If you live in New York and you go visit Vancouver and you say, you know what, I'm going to stay one more day in Vancouver because I'm going to get some cake from the baker tomorrow, right? That doesn't make any sense for you to have to stay in Vancouver when you have to be back at home in New York because of some cake, right? That really doesn't rise to the level that, you know what, I need this, right? I need this immediately. I need this right now. And so if in your life you're blaming everybody. You're blaming the dishes. You're blaming the dishwasher. You're blaming the gardener. You're blaming the electricity. You're blaming the weather. You're blaming everything for the condition that your life is in instead of looking at the choice that you made and those who are immediately associated. They made another choice too. You can't blame the peach cobbler or the monks for your husband taking on a second wife, for your husband betraying you, for the mistress to replace you. You can't blame someone else because of that, right? And you have to remind yourself that you can't do that. And so I really want to encourage you, wherever you are today, if you begin to examine your life and begin to examine some of the motivations that are going on, what drove you to make a choice, really think about the story of Kana, right? Really remind yourself that it's not the monks, it's not the peach cobbler that made the difference. It were the choices, right? It was the choices that were made. And so, um, and so Kana was so angry with all the monks, right? She was so angry, right? Blamed them for keeping her away. Said, you were the reason that I couldn't get home. You, right? She was doing all the blame. And then, then it came time for this kind of discussion, right? And Kana was asked, right? Okay, she was asked directly, did the monks take what was given them, or was it not given to them? Right? That's the integral question, right? If you're blaming the monks, it says, was this offered to the monks or was it not? Did they take what was not offered? And the reality is they were offered it, right? So they weren't in the wrong. They are cleared. They did nothing wrong, right? If someone asks for something and is granted it, that everything is fair, everything is fine there. There isn't a blame there. So you have to absolve the monks because they were not at blame, they were not at fault. And so it goes on to say that the king found out about Kana's plight and about her husband leaving and about the sweet treats, and those must have been some good sweet treats. And because he said, you know what, send her some sweet treats and ask around the court and bring some very powerful people in. And so the very powerful people arrived, and they said, okay, so what's going on? We're hearing your story. We're sorry for your loss. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to graft you into our family so that you now will be of wealth and royalty and privilege, right? Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild how that happened? That she went to see her mother, her husband left. She at the monastery, she received a lesson, the Dharma, right? She received awakening, some sort of enlightenment when she recognized that the monks were not at blame. The king found out about the whole situation and said, "You know what? We're going to make you royalty, right? We're going to make you wealthy, right? We're going to make you rich. We're going to make you successful and powerful. We're going to give you a high status." Now, can you imagine her going back home, right? And into everything, and said after her husband left, right, took on the second wife and said, hey, well, listen, you left me, but now I'm like royalty, I'm like nobility, I have a name, I have a fortune. Well, you know, and it says here towards the end of the story, it says, every day Kana made offerings to the monks at the 4 city gates. When told of Kana giving generously in charity, it said, monks, the mind of Kana, which was foggy and muddled, was made clear and calm by these words. Like a lake which is deep, clear, and calm, the wise, after listening to the teaching of the Dharma, become serene. And so Kana came to the monastery probably because there were problems in her relationship in her life, and she stayed there probably because there were problems in their relationship in her life, and she found clarity while she was there that enabled her to awaken, right, to live with a boundless heart. And in the story, this boundless heart was symbolized by wealth, prosperity, a title, a name. But in your life, you too may have a foggy, or muddled, or unclear mind. And you too have to begin this process of cultivation. You may be waiting on the sweet treats for your life, right? You may be waiting on the application to get approved. You may be waiting on the promotion. You may be waiting on the business plan. You may be waiting on you may be waiting on all these different areas of your life. And if they are sweet treats, right? Know that it's not about the sweet treats. It's about you and the decisions that you make, because you make the decision, right? You have that sovereign power to make the choice in your life. And in order to make that choice in a wise way, you have to know what you're dealing with. And so Kana was angry with the monks, and bitter with them because of the sweet treats. You are angry and bitter, or maybe frustrated at someone else or something else about why you're not getting ahead or why you're not going where you need to go, right? There's some other impediment. But she was able to see that it wasn't, the monks didn't get they were not offered, right? And just similarly, just like the other person who applied for the position, they applied, they were given that position. Okay, you have to continue to move forward in life. You can't stay stuck, right? Someone else was given the loan, you weren't. You can't stay stuck in that denial. You can't stay stuck in that rejection. You can't stay stuck in that setback. If you do, your mind will stay foggy and it will stay muddied and it will stay cloudy. But if you choose to allow your mind to be like a lake, deep, clear, and calm, after hearing the Dharma, then you will become serene as well, right? And it is in this serene place, right? This place of stability, of composure, of ease, of equanimity, that you are able to make wise and skillful decisions in life. Okay? So that's the Dharma for today. That's the message for today. That's the encouragement for today, is to, one, where are you blaming, right? Are you blaming the sweet treats? Are you blaming the monks, right? Are you blaming the copy machine? Are you blaming the gardener, right? Or do you begin to look at the choices that you make and really why you are here, right? You have to begin to ask yourself, why am I here? What is being asked of me? What is my role in this, right? If you begin to see those motivations, begin to look deeply at your life and see yourself in an expanded way, then you open up the doorway, the pathway for nobility, for wealth, for prosperity, for abundance to enter into your life as well. Let's meditate before we go. Coming into an upright and comfortable seated position, taking a deep breath in and out as we settle into our practice. Just as Kana was caught up in blame, bitterness, and anger, as she was left, and she was betrayed, and she was confused about being rejected by her husband, and kind of deceived by her mother. And we all know what it's like to go through this complex web of betrayal and neglect, but also what it's like to overcome and to find a resilience through, a courage and bravery through. Hold this space. Maintain this container. Meet whatever arises. And tend to it all with equal measures of wisdom and compassion. May your dreams continue to unfold. May you continue to awaken. May you find within this lifetime beauty and abundance and clarity and calm. I affirm new businesses. I affirm new manuscripts. And I affirm you. May all who hear this message of the Dharma awaken their hearts and illuminate their minds. Namaste. Well, Sangha, thanks for practicing this meditation with me and for staying with me during this Dharma study. Listen, You have the capacity to lead and achieve in life. And so I invite you to say this affirmation of nobility with me. I have value and I have worth because I am of noble birth. And with this breath, I will awaken to all that's possible within my life. I will lead and I will achieve. I will lead and I will achieve. Nicely done, Sangha. If you said that simple affirmation, you are well on your way towards your ennoblement, towards awakening your heart and illuminating your mind, to starting that business, to continuing and finishing and completing that manuscript that you've been holding off for so long. All right, until next time, peace in, love out. Put one finger up for love if you hold a space for love within your heart. Two fingers up for peace. Three fingers up for this mindful community. That means you, that means me, that means we, all of us. Now bring it all in to awaken your heart. And may your mind be free and luminous and wide. Much success to you in life. I'll see you next time, Sangha. Namaste.